Sara Omar, qui va terminer cette soirée. Sara Omar, I will introduce you in French, if you don't mind. Sara Omar est une romancière kurdo-danoise. Elle vit au Danemark depuis 2001. Elle est née et a grandi au Kurdistan, mais a dû fuir ce pays à la fin des années 90 en raison de la guerre. Sara Omar est titulaire d'une licence en sciences politiques et continue ses études pour obtenir un master. Elle fait partie du comité consultatif d'experts pour Arts et Globalization et est membre du conseil d'administration de plusieurs organisations internationales de défense des droits des femmes et des droits humains. Elle a publié son premier roman, Dødevaskeren, La Laveuse de Mort, en 2017, roman au succès gigantesque qui a été un des plus grands best-sellers de ces dernières années au Danemark. Puis, en 2019, elle publie Skyggedanseren, La danseuse de l'ombre, qui est le second volume de la trilogie qu'elle écrit. Sara Omar a remporté de nombreux prix pour ses livres, dont le Reader's Book Award en 2018 pour La Laveuse de Mort, et a reçu le prix honorifique du journal danois Extra Bladet, qui est décerné depuis 1980 à un journaliste, un écrivain, un photographe ou un illustrateur dont le travail est particulièrement à la hauteur du journalisme critique que défend le journal. Elle a également reçu la même année le prix de la communication culturelle du Danemark, le prix Heartbeat. Elle a été nommée Femme de l'année par le magazine Elle en 2019 et a reçu cette même année le prix littéraire de la fondation Martin Anderson Nexo, ainsi que le prix des droits humains du Comité des droits de l'homme des Nations Unies. De nombreux prix. La traduction française de son premier roman, La Laveuse de Mort, a été publiée chez Actes Sud en 2020. Sarah.
So, thank you so much. This is the book La Laveuse de Mort in French, and I have the Danish version here. And I'm trying to read a little piece of it in Danish so you can hear how it sounds. This is a story about a little girl born in the Kurdish part of Iraq, and she is being born into a religious family, which is very hard in a society with war and poverty and a lot of differences between the way you have to be, whether you are born a girl or a boy. So this part I'm going to read is the little girl is called Fermesk. She's just born, and this is how she's going to be welcomed in her family. First in Danish. I don't expect you to understand.
I do.
Oh, you do? Oh, great. Yeah, no, nice. Klokken var 4:15, da Askol igen lukkede sig ind i huset. Baban lå på gulvet med store, våde øjne og stirrede over mod den lukkede dør ind til værelset. De hvide lagen var knudet om ham, som havde han selv forsøgt at skabe sig en trøstende hånd. Askol skyndte sig hen til ham og satte sig på hug. Han kastede sig om hendes hals og gav slip på gråden. Kom, sagde hun. Lad os sætte os lidt. De kunne høre Robert græde bag døren. Askol kyssede den lille på panden. Jeg bliver nødt til at gå derinde, sagde hun, og fumlede med slikpinden frem. Og fumlede en slikkepind frem fra lommen. Den sidste. Drengen nikkede, smilede forsigtigt til hende. Rummet, der mødte Askol, var varmt og fugtigt. Baljen, der før havde været fuld af ren vand, lignede nu et kar fra et slagterhus. Håndklædene var plettet, og flere af jernredskaberne lå stadig fremme. Gauhar nikkede til Askol, der satte sig på hug ved siden af Rubars krop. Rubars blik flakkede, men endte til sidst ved jordmoren. Er den lille okay? Hendes ansigt var hævet, og øjnene helt røde. Er der liv i ham? Fatima holdt barnet i benene og tørrede dets spinkle krop af med en klud, så det ikke længere var smurt helt ind. So, this was Danish. And now I'm trying to read this piece and a little more from the same chapter in English. It was 4:45 when Asger let herself back into the house. Baban lay on the floor with big, wet eyes, staring at the closed door to his mother's room. The white sheet was bundled around him, as though he had tried to fashion himself a comforting robe. Asger rushed over to him, squatting down onto her haunches. He flung himself around her neck and burst into tears. Come, she said, let us sit down together. They could hear Ruba crying behind the door. Asger kissed the little boy's forehead. I need to go in, she said, fumbling a lollipop out of her pocket. The last one. The boy nodded, smiling tentatively at her. The room that greeted Asger was hot and damp. The bowl that has been full of clean water now looked like a slaughterhouse bed. The towels were soiled, and several of the iron tools were still scattered around the mattress. Gauhar nodded at Asger, who crouched down beside Rubar's body. Rubar's gaze flickered, but rested at the last on the midwife. Is the little one okay? Her face was swollen, her eyes completely red. Is he alive? Fatima was holding the child by its legs, wiping its fragile body with a cloth so that it was no longer smeared all over mucus and blood. The baby is alive, she said, turning it around and giving it a pat on the bottom. At the same moment, the crying began. She's alive, and with those lungs, she will definitely cling on to life. Gauhar shut her eyes and sent a silent prayer to Allah, who had held his hands over them. Outside, they heard the call from the mosque, and for a second she glanced up at her friend in relief. The men would now be occupied in prayer. Fatima laid the newborn on Rubar's chest and saw that the baby stopped crying as soon as it could feel the warmth and smell from Rubar. The baby looked up at her mother with dark, almond-shaped eyes. Rubar laid a hand on the newborn's face, and the little child tried to grab her index finger. Those eyes are from another world, whispered Gauhar. Yes, they look almost bottomless, added Fatima. She hesitated for a moment. And I do not think I have ever seen a newborn girl without hair. Gauhar had been thinking the same thing, but did not want to say it aloud. The child's head was completely bald, except for a heart-shaped patch of fine white hair at the very front of her head, directly above her brow. It was a girl. That troubled her too. But the hair would probably come, added Fatima quickly, when she realized how quiet the room had become. Gauhar could not decide whether the white hair-shaped patch was a sign from Allah or a curse. She looked at the child and sensed the despairing soul of an angel. Asger went over to one of the windows and pushed back the shutters, letting the new arrival experience her first dawn. The sun has gradually edged its way up above the streets and houses of Zamwa. The scattered ruins of the city creaked at the joints. The war's endless mortar missile attacks had left behind many devastated facades and more would follow after the next downpour of mortar shells. You shall be called Frumesk, said Rubar, because you are a little teardrop that has fallen to earth here with me. All four women were startled when the front door suddenly opened. Let us see what Anwar says, whispered Gohar. She was sorry she had to say it at this moment, but it would be wrong to let Rubar grow attached to a name that child might never be given. Rubar closed her eyes while the noises in the hallway grew louder. There were voices and footsteps. Shoes were kicked off. That sounds like Tawfiq, muttered Gohar, or Muhammad. Her voice brightened at his name. They have come to see the little one. Askol, are we ready? Rubar suppressed the thought of her husband for a while, but now his voice was right outside. Tawfiq's too. Askol hurried to open the door. Welcome, she said. We are ready in here. Both Rubar and the little one are decent. Gohar politely greeted Tawfiq, who gazed at her with his blue eyes. Muhammad, she exclaimed a moment later, how lovely you have come to show your sister respect. Of course, mother, said the tall man, rubbing his large beard. Anwar and Tawfiq both came to the mosque to pray for a son, so it seemed appropriate to pay you a visit afterwards. Gohar dropped her gaze to the ground. May I see him? Asked Anwar. Rubar looked up. I know that look, said Tawfiq drearily. After 4 incompetent wives and 8 daughters, I know that look. It is just a girl. He rolled his eyes. Our prayers were in vain, Anwar, my daughter's son. Is it true? Exclaimed Anwar. A girl? I have been waiting here for 5 years for this woman to get pregnant again, and now I'm only getting a girl? The offspring of worthless women, muttered Tawfiq. Gohar closed her fingers around a corner of her dress and clenched her fist. Rubar could not look at the men. She fixed her gaze firmly on the little one's eyes. In her inner silence, she moved from one hill to another. Frumesk peered up at her mother with eyes so dark and deep that in themselves they could be the little one's downfall. Rubar glanced at Anwar out of the corner of her eyes. Friends, Muhammad broke in, think of the Prophet's words. Lucky is the woman whose firstborn is a daughter. Then I have had 4 lucky wives, snored Tawfiq, his wrinkled face twisted into a spiteful grimace. Cursely lucky. There are more than enough women in this family. Why do we need more? My firstborn was a boy, muttered Anwar proudly. But here, I just have no damn idea what to do with her.